Mastering boundaries. Love yourself and others through limit setting. Imagine a day where every demand is met with a nod, every request with a yes, and every boundary is crossed without a second thought. Sound familiar? This kind of day, devoid of boundaries, can leave you drained and resentful. Setting boundaries isn't just a necessity, it's a profound act of self-love and respect for others. As Brené Brown says, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. How can you find the balance between being compassionate and protecting your own well-being? To start, understand that boundaries are essential for maintaining your mental health and energy levels. When you constantly give in to others' demands without considering your needs, you deplete your energy and end up feeling exhausted and undervalued. Boundaries act as a shield, preserving your resources and ensuring you have the energy to give genuinely when it truly matters. They help you avoid burnout and maintain a sense of control over your life. Moreover, setting boundaries is not just beneficial for you, it's also an act of kindness towards others. By setting clear limits, you teach people how to treat you and what to expect from you. This clarity can prevent misunderstandings and resentment. For instance, if you always agree to help with extra tasks at work, your colleagues might not realize the burden they're placing on you. By setting boundaries, you help them understand your limits and encourage them to respect your time and effort. One common fear about setting boundaries is that it will damage relationships. However, boundaries can actually strengthen relationships by fostering mutual respect and understanding. When you communicate your limits clearly and respectfully, you build trust. As Oprah Winfrey puts it, you teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce. Boundaries help you maintain healthy, balanced relationships where both parties feel valued and respected. Practical steps to setting boundaries involve clear, honest communication. Start by identifying your limits and expressing them calmly and assertively. Use I statements to convey your needs without sounding accusatory. For example, instead of saying, "You never help with the housework," try, "I feel overwhelmed when I have to handle all the housework alone. Can we discuss a more balanced division of tasks?" This approach fosters collaboration rather than confrontation. Finally, remember that setting boundaries is an ongoing process. It requires continuous reflection and adjustment. Be prepared to reinforce your boundaries and make necessary changes as situations evolve. It's also important to recognize when others are setting boundaries with you and to respect their limits. This mutual respect creates a healthier, more supportive environment for everyone involved. In conclusion, mastering the art of setting boundaries is a powerful way to love yourself and others. It's about protecting your well-being, fostering respectful relationships, and creating a balanced life. As you practice setting boundaries, you'll find that you have more energy, less resentment, and stronger connections with those around you. Reflect on this. What boundaries do you need to set in your life to ensure your own well-being and foster healthier relationships? Start today, and remember that loving yourself is the first step to loving others effectively. If you found this insight helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more tips on personal growth and well-being. Share this with friends and loved ones to spread the knowledge and support our journey to the next milestone. What is the credibility of the author? Dr. Henry Cloud is a distinguished clinical psychologist and a renowned expert in the field of leadership. With a deep understanding of human behavior and organizational dynamics, he has authored numerous books that have become essential reading for those looking to enhance their personal and professional lives. Dr. Cloud's insights are drawn from years of clinical practice and leadership consultancy, helping individuals and organizations navigate the complexities of human interactions and relationships. His ability to distill complex psychological principles into practical advice has made his work accessible and transformative for a wide audience. Dr. John Townsend, a business consultant, leadership coach, and psychologist, brings a wealth of experience in helping leaders and organizations achieve their highest potential. His approach combines rigorous psychological research with practical leadership strategies, providing clients with tools to improve performance and foster healthy workplace cultures. Together with Dr. Cloud, Dr. Townsend co-authored the New York Times best-selling book Boundaries, which has profoundly impacted readers worldwide. They also lead the acclaimed Growth Skills Workshop series, where they share their expertise in personal development and leadership, empowering individuals to set healthy boundaries and thrive in their personal and professional lives. Setting boundaries, a compassionate act. Walls, fences, and no trespassing signs. Our physical environment is marked by various boundaries designed to protect and guide us. These boundaries, like the barbed wire around a nuclear power plant, exist to prevent us from wandering into dangerous zones. Similarly, Emotional and spiritual boundaries are essential for our protection and well-being. However, unlike physical boundaries, emotional and spiritual boundaries aren't always visible, making it challenging to establish and maintain them. This often leads to the misconception that enforcing boundaries is unkind or selfish, but in reality, setting boundaries is an act of kindness. When you set a boundary, you acknowledge and take ownership of your needs, wants, and feelings. This self-prioritization is often misconstrued as neglecting others, but healthy boundaries are about balance. It means recognizing your responsibility to others without assuming responsibility for their problems. As illustrated in the Bible's book of Galatians, we are responsible to others but only for ourselves. Setting boundaries is not just about protecting yourself, it's about fostering healthier relationships where everyone's needs are respected. Consider a hypothetical family, the O'Reillys, to illustrate this point. Their son James has developed a drug problem and faces expulsion from school. If his parents continuously solve his problems by enrolling him in new schools and paying his fines, James never learns to take responsibility for his actions. This approach may seem helpful, but it enables James to avoid confronting his issues. By setting boundaries, the O'Reillys can still support James without taking on his burdens. They can listen to him, offer guidance, and facilitate his sobriety, but they must allow him to face the consequences of his actions to truly learn and grow. Setting boundaries with James means that the O'Reillys are taking care of themselves while also encouraging their son to develop accountability. This balance prevents burnout and resentment, which can occur when parents overextend themselves to fix their child's problems. By setting boundaries, they show James that they trust him to handle his issues and believe in his capacity to overcome them. This not only protects their well-being but also fosters a sense of responsibility and independence in James. In conclusion, setting boundaries is an act of love and kindness towards both yourself and others. It ensures that you are not overwhelmed by taking on too much responsibility for others' problems while also promoting healthier, more balanced relationships. By clearly defining and respecting boundaries, you create an environment where everyone can thrive. Remember, taking care of your needs is not selfish, it's essential for maintaining your mental and emotional health and building stronger, more supportive connections with those around you. Boundary issues, the many faces. When considering boundary issues, one might assume that they only pertain to people who struggle to say no. However, boundary problems manifest in various forms, affecting not only the overly compliant but also those who might be avoidant, controlling, or non-responsive. The key message is, boundary issues can manifest themselves in many ways. A common perception is that boundary issues are synonymous with being a compliant person, someone who can't say no and ends up being taken advantage of by everyone. This is the classic doormat scenario where the individual's inability to assert themselves leads to a cycle of being overwhelmed and undervalued. But boundary issues extend beyond compliance. For instance, you might be an avoidant. While boundaries are crucial for keeping harmful influences out, avoidants build such high walls that they also block out positive and supportive interactions. Their strict boundaries make it difficult for them to accept help, share feelings, or let others in, leading to isolation and unmet needs despite their assertiveness. Alternatively, you could be a controller. Controllers enforce their own boundaries strictly, ensuring no one oversteps them, but they do so at the expense of others' boundaries. They may be the boss who demands responses to emails over the weekend or the friend who won't take no for an answer. While controllers might seem to achieve their goals, their relationships suffer as they are built on fear and guilt rather than mutual respect and affection. Consequently, controllers often feel unloved and disconnected despite their outward assertiveness. Lastly, consider the non-responsive. Unlike avoidants, who erect barriers to protect themselves, non-responsives neglect their responsibilities to others. When approached with a problem, they may respond with indifference or dismissiveness, making others feel unsupported and distant. Their lack of empathy and engagement can prevent meaningful connections from forming, leaving them isolated despite their apparent self-sufficiency. Clearly, boundary issues can take many forms. While you may not fit the profile of a compliant person, it's essential to recognize that boundary problems can still affect you in other ways. Understanding the various manifestations of boundary issues is the first step toward addressing and resolving them, leading to healthier and more balanced relationships. Don't buy into common myths about healthy boundaries. What's stopping you from establishing healthy boundaries that benefit both you and those around you? Perhaps you think setting boundaries is selfish or difficult to reconcile with your beliefs. For instance, Christians might struggle with this, recalling biblical quotes like John's, emphasizing that loving others is a hallmark of Christ's followers. However, to truly love others, We must first love ourselves, and setting boundaries is a profound act of self-love. The notion that healthy boundaries are selfish is merely a myth. The key message here is, don't buy into common myths about healthy boundaries. When you start setting boundaries, you'll likely face myths and misconceptions that can hold you back. One such myth is that setting boundaries hurts others. In reality, if a relationship suffers from the establishment of healthy boundaries, the issue lies within the relationship itself, not the boundaries. For example, if you decide to prioritize your time and decline to babysit for a friend weekly, and they get upset and stop speaking to you, it's not your boundary that's at fault. If the relationship cannot withstand reasonable boundaries, then it may not be worth maintaining. Another misconception is that setting boundaries is an act of anger. While you might feel anger when you begin to assert your boundaries, this anger often stems from past experiences where your boundaries were violated. When others don't respect your boundaries or prevent you from setting them, it's normal to feel hurt and anger. As you establish boundaries, repressed feelings of anger may surface, and setting boundaries can provide the necessary space to process these emotions. People also often believe that boundaries are permanent and unchangeable. However, boundaries are flexible and can evolve with time and circumstances. For instance, asking your mother to stop giving unsolicited parenting advice doesn't mean you'll never discuss such topics again. As your relationship improves, you might find that you're both ready to have those conversations in a more respectful and constructive manner. In conclusion, shedding these myths about boundaries allows you to embrace them as a form of self-respect and love. Healthy boundaries foster better relationships and personal well-being, proving that they are far from selfish or harmful. Remember, establishing boundaries is about creating a balance that benefits everyone involved. The journey toward a life with boundaries is long but rewarding. Before you're comfortable asserting boundaries, you might placidly accept boundary violations. You might think, Carol always asks me to babysit last minute, but that's just her way, or Lynn always puts me down in front of his friends. He's just joking, though. Over time, however, you'll probably experience resentment. This can be unpleasant but useful. The feeling shows you that you've stopped being complacent when your boundaries are violated. Pay attention to it. That's your heart telling you an important boundary has been overstepped one too many times. Heeding it is the first step toward a life of healthy boundaries. The key message is, the journey toward a life with boundaries is long but rewarding. Ever tried to set boundaries with a controller or manipulator? When they want to use you, they won't take no for an answer. Their insistence on using you can be addictive. It can make you feel needed and important. People who respect your boundaries, on the other hand, like those friends who don't make a fuss when you decline their invitation to Sunday lunch, won't give you this high. But when you start your journey toward healthy boundaries, you'll find that you seek them out anyway. Doing so is a clear sign you're recovering from your boundary issues. Next, you'll learn to value and love yourself, and as the authors see it, this also means loving God. When we're treated badly and our boundaries are violated repeatedly, we learn to treat ourselves as those who violate our boundaries do. We don't steward the talents, gifts, feelings, thoughts, and body that Christians believe God gave us in the manner we should. If we can't love those things in ourselves, we can't love them in others. So we fail God on that count, too. Finding and celebrating value in yourself is a key step on your journey. After that, the next step is becoming comfortable setting small stakes boundaries and relaxing personal boundaries that don't serve you. You'll tell your spouse not to always leave you with the dirty dishes. You'll accept a friend's offer to bring dessert to your dinner party. Through recalibrating these smaller boundaries, you'll learn to set and adjust big boundaries. Ultimately, you'll find that you love your healthy boundaries, and the space and respect they've created in your life. Embracing boundaries not only transforms your relationships but also fosters a profound sense of self-respect and personal growth. We first learn boundaries from our families. Are you a confident, high-functioning person who feels inexplicably depressed and insecure after spending time with family? Do you love your partner but throw them under the bus to please your parents? Are you an adult who relies on your parents to resolve problems big and small, from paying off credit card bills to helping with laundry? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you come from a family with boundary issues. These issues are shaping the boundaries you set in your own life. The key message is, we first learn boundaries from our families. Whether you're constantly counseling your parents or you run to mom and dad whenever life throws a curveball, you're likely reenacting the boundary problems you learned as a child. If you grew up in an environment where limits weren't set or were too strictly enforced, that shaped your own attitude toward limits. If you come from a family where problems weren't directly confronted or unacceptable behaviors weren't met with consequences, You carry that dynamic into your adult life. How do you break out of unhealthy patterns learned in childhood? Begin by identifying the issue. Where have you lost control of your needs? Where have you taken ownership of needs that aren't yours, or pushed responsibility for your needs onto others? Next, try and identify the unmet needs that underpin your boundary issues. Why do you put your mother's needs above your own? Are you craving her approval? Why do you expect your father to solve your problems for you? Are you craving his attention? Being aware of why you act can help you change how you act. Finally, the next time your boundaries are violated, try to respond rather than react. When you react, you act instinctively and unthinkingly, and unless your boundaries are well established, you're likely to forget them when you're in the throes of an emotional reaction. When you respond to a situation, on the other hand, you stay calm enough to assess and analyze the situation before you act. What if you're dealing with a family member who tramples your boundaries repeatedly and hurtfully? Well, they don't necessarily need to stay in your life, but don't withhold forgiveness from them. If you haven't forgiven someone, that means you still want something from them. Forgiving these violations will give you freedom. Setting and respecting boundaries are crucial for maintaining a fulfilling romantic relationship. Boundaries provide clarity and structure, helping both partners feel safe, respected, and understood. Without boundaries, misunderstandings and conflicts can easily arise, leading to resentment and emotional distance. Take Rosario and Jim, for example. Rosario struggles with Jim's drinking habits and feels neglected when he drinks excessively. Instead of directly expressing her feelings, she assumes Jim's intentions, which leads to miscommunication and frustration. By clearly stating her own emotions and setting boundaries around acceptable behavior, Rosario can foster a healthier dialogue with Jim about their concerns. Similarly, Andrea and Caroline face challenges due to conflicting desires. Andrea brings work home, which leaves Caroline feeling neglected and resentful. Instead of blaming Andrea, Caroline can assert her need for quality time together by setting aside work-free evenings. This approach allows both partners to express their needs openly and find a mutually satisfying compromise. In another scenario, Raphael's enthusiasm for home projects overwhelms Julie, preventing her from pursuing her own interests like oil painting. Julie's reluctance to assert her boundaries results in frustration and a sense of being taken for granted. By communicating her limitations and setting boundaries around her personal time and interests, Julie can reclaim autonomy within the relationship. Ultimately, boundaries in relationships are about fostering mutual respect and understanding. They provide the framework for healthy communication and help maintain individual identities within the partnership. When couples prioritize setting and respecting boundaries, they create an environment where both partners can thrive emotionally, fostering a deeper connection and long-term satisfaction in their relationship. In friendships, boundaries play a crucial role in maintaining healthy dynamics and fostering mutual respect. When boundaries are unclear or disregarded, friendships can easily become strained and fraught with misunderstandings. Understanding and implementing boundaries is not about creating distance or cutting off communication, but rather about establishing guidelines that promote positive interactions and emotional well-being for everyone involved. One common scenario in friendships is the dynamic between compliant individuals who prioritize pleasing others and avoiding conflict. While it may seem agreeable on the surface, this approach can lead to underlying resentment and dissatisfaction. For example, friends like Dom and Andy may continuously defer to each other's preferences without expressing their own desires. This can result in missed opportunities for genuine connection and enjoyment, as they both sacrifice their individual needs to maintain harmony. Conversely, friendships involving a compliant and a controller can be particularly challenging. A compliant friend, like Becky, might find herself consistently accommodating the demands of a controlling friend, such as Sunyi. Sunyi's behavior may range from making unilateral decisions that affect both of them to using manipulative tactics to guilt Becky into compliance. In such cases, Becky may feel taken advantage of and struggle to assert her own boundaries for fear of conflict or losing the friendship. Setting boundaries in friendships is about asserting one's needs and limits in a respectful manner. It involves clearly communicating personal boundaries regarding time, emotional availability, and expectations. For instance, if Becky feels overwhelmed by Sunyi's demands, she might gently but firmly express her need for personal space or her desire to participate in activities that align with her interests. Moreover, boundaries help friends establish healthy reciprocity and balance. They enable individuals to give and receive support without feeling depleted or resentful. By respecting each other's boundaries, friends create a supportive environment where both parties feel valued and understood. This mutual respect strengthens the friendship and allows it to grow organically based on trust and authenticity. In essence, friendships thrive when boundaries are acknowledged and upheld. They provide a framework for navigating conflicts, maintaining individual identities within the relationship, and fostering deeper connections based on mutual respect. Friends who can openly discuss and respect each other's boundaries are better equipped to handle challenges and enjoy meaningful, fulfilling relationships over the long term. Personal boundaries are not only crucial in personal relationships but also play a vital role in professional life. Many individuals, like Ahmed, who excel in their careers often find themselves struggling to maintain healthy boundaries between work and personal life. Ahmed's case highlights a common challenge. While he can assert boundaries effectively at home, he struggles to apply the same principles in his professional environment. In the workplace, the pressure to prove oneself competent and dedicated can lead to boundary violations. One prevalent issue is over-responsibility, where individuals take on tasks and responsibilities that aren't theirs out of fear of repercussions or a desire to maintain control. This behavior not only leads to burnout but also prevents colleagues from taking ownership of their roles and tasks. Similarly, overworking is another pitfall that undermines personal boundaries. Many employees feel compelled to work long hours or take on excessive workloads, believing it reflects dedication. However, consistently overworking can result in diminished productivity, fatigue, and ultimately, neglect of personal well-being. It's crucial for individuals to recognize that their time and energy are finite resources that require careful allocation and protection. Moreover, navigating challenging interpersonal dynamics in the workplace, such as dealing with critical coworkers, requires clear boundaries. While constructive feedback is valuable, absorbing constant criticism or negative attitudes from colleagues can be detrimental. Understanding that others' perceptions and behaviors are beyond one's control is essential. Setting boundaries here involves asserting oneself when necessary and maintaining professionalism while not internalizing undue negativity. Finally, creating a boundary between work and home life is essential for overall well-being. Bringing work-related stress home can strain personal relationships and erode one's ability to recharge and relax. Learning to compartmentalize and prioritize personal time ensures a healthier balance between professional responsibilities and personal fulfillment. In essence, establishing and maintaining personal boundaries in professional settings is not just about self-preservation but also about fostering a productive and sustainable work environment. By recognizing and respecting these boundaries, individuals can enhance their effectiveness, reduce stress, and cultivate a healthier work-life balance. Setting boundaries is a transformative act that can profoundly shape the quality of our lives and relationships. When our boundaries are clear and respected, we gain the ability to navigate life's challenges with greater ease and authenticity. They empower us to assert our needs and desires while respecting the boundaries of others, a crucial skill in fostering healthy relationships and maintaining our emotional well-being. Boundaries allow us to take ownership of our problems and emotions without shouldering undue burdens from others. This clarity frees us from the exhausting cycle of over-responsibility, where we might feel compelled to solve everyone else's issues at the expense of our own needs. By setting boundaries, we learn to strike a balance between support and self-care, offering empathy and assistance while maintaining healthy limits. Moreover, boundaries enable us to ask for help when we need it, a vital aspect of resilience and community. They encourage open communication and mutual respect, enhancing trust and intimacy in our interactions. When both parties understand and honor each other's boundaries, relationships deepen and flourish. Creating and maintaining boundaries isn't always easy. It requires introspection, courage, and sometimes uncomfortable conversations. Yet, the rewards are immense: stronger relationships built on authenticity, increased self-respect, and a greater sense of personal agency. Boundaries are not walls that isolate us but fences that define our space, ensuring that we engage with others from a place of clarity and integrity. As you embark on your journey of boundary setting, remember the words of Brené Brown: daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves, even when we risk disappointing others. This courage is a testament to self-respect and self-care, qualities that enrich both our personal and professional lives. In closing, I want to express my gratitude to all my subscribers for your support. Your likes, shares, and engagement mean the world to me, and they inspire me to continue sharing valuable insights and content. Thank you for joining me on this journey of exploration and growth. If you're interested in diving deeper into the topic of boundaries, you can find more resources in the link provided in the description below. Until next time, take care and remember to honor your boundaries. It's the first step towards a life of fulfillment and connection.